Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are doing something incredibly exciting. We're going to completely break down the dynamic pacing, the dialogue escalation, and the deeply rich world-building lore that's cleverly hidden within just a single climactic page of Aetherverse issue number 1. You know, it's actually incredibly rare to see so much narrative heavy lifting accomplished on literally one sheet of paper. But this specific page, it manages to establish a terrifying villain, showcase a complex multi-stage magical combat sequence, and set up a sprawling thematic universe all at the exact same time. By the time we're done breaking this all down, you're gonna have a whole new appreciation for the absolute masterclass in visual storytelling happening right in front of us. So let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into the overall structure of page 3, which features this explosive conflict between Azeroth and the Shadow Legions. Notice how the action naturally unfolds structurally from top to bottom. The layout itself is basically a narrative journey. We start way up at the top with a massive, oppressive horizontal panel completely dominated by the villain, and it literally feels like it weighs down on the rest of the page. Then, as we move into the middle section, it fractures into these tighter, incredibly kinetic action panels. That visually quickens the reading pace as the battle really intensifies. Finally, everything resolves at the very bottom with a wide cinematic landscape shot that gives us, and the hero, a much-needed moment to breathe. It's this beautifully structured descent into total chaos and then right back out into resolution. So, starting right at the top, we get this incredibly high-stakes, inciting threat from Kakan. The creator is brilliantly using a dark, ominous tone here to establish the overwhelming peril of this advancing army. Just look at Kakan's positioning. He is towering over a seemingly endless sea of dark, red-eyed soldiers, and he's backed by this crackling purple lightning that just screams ancient evil. Because, let's be real, no classic comic villain is complete without an epic monologue and some dramatic weather. And then we get this absolute gut punch of a quote. "Foolish child, you dare wield the Aether. I will erase you from existence." The use of bold, blood-red lettering for the word erase and that jagged speech bubble, that isn't just some random stylistic choice. It's a structural cue. It literally forces the reader to mentally hear the sheer booming volume of the threat, perfectly setting the stage with an impossible, overwhelming antagonist. Now, you might be wondering, what does this all mean for the larger story? Well, this sequence perfectly maps out the central thematic lore of the entire Aetherverse. We aren't just looking at two guys about to punch each other, we're witnessing a clash of fundamental forces. On one side, the narration explicitly tells us Kakan is rising from the ruins of ancient times, so he represents the dark, decaying, tyrannical past. On the exact opposite side of this thematic spectrum, we have our protagonist who declares himself the will of Aether, and he is just bursting with kinetic energy. It's a very deliberate color clash happening here. We've got the stagnant, bruised purple of the ancient past violently colliding against the bright, defiant cyan of the future. It's so cool. And right here, the pacing quickens sharply as our hero makes his defiant stand. Visually, this erupts into an absolute explosion of cyan energy. The protagonist fiercely responds to Hawken's threat, shouting, "You think I'm alone? I am the will of Aether. Aether, ignite." Check out the framing. His hand reaches aggressively forward, almost breaking out of the panel toward us, and it is crackling with pure energy. His expression is fierce. His eyes are glowing with that same etheric power. He is completely rejecting the idea that he has to face these dark legions as a victim. The stark contrast of the bright cyan popping against that dark, murky background immediately shifts the momentum. It pulls control right out of the villain's hands and gives it back to the hero. What follows brilliantly illustrates the tactical sequence of the hero's defensive maneuvers. The page basically breaks down a split-second, rapid-fire action sequence into deliberate, strategic steps. Step 1, he ignites the Aether. Step 2, he creates an absolute, unbreakable defense. This is visually punctuated by a perfect sphere of energy and a massive sound effect screaming shield. Step 3, he moves faster than light, which is rendered with dynamic motion lines and a sharp whoosh that pulls our eyes directly to the right. These staccato action panels are tight, they're fast, and they're punchy. They force our eyes to physically dart across the page, perfectly mimicking the blinding speed of the protagonist himself. It's like a masterclass in motion. Okay, here's where the momentum flips entirely. We move from a perfect defense straight into the ultimate offensive strike. The tension has been building and building through those tight, fast panels, and now it's time for the release. The text boxes guide us along. He strikes with the power that shatters armies. We see him pulling that intense cyan energy back, the Aether blast charging up right there in his hands, illuminating his face and casting these harsh shadows. What's happening is we're scaling up the sheer magnitude of the impending attack.
The creator is telling us right in this moment that the hero isn't just going to fight this army. He possesses the raw, overwhelming capability to obliterate it completely. And boom, here is that explosive, earth-shattering climax. The panel bursts wide open, totally consumed by jagged blasts of pure etheric energy, just tearing through the dark ranks of the Shadow Legions. The word destruction stretches massive across the bottom of the sequence in those signature cyan letters. It's the definitive blinding blow struck against the enemy. Everything we've seen so far, the threat, the ignition, the tactical speed, it all culminates in this singular, deafening release of power. The visual chaos of this panel is the exact polar opposite of Kakyan's rigid, ordered army from the top of the page. It's the chaotic, beautiful power of the Aether completely overwhelming the darkness.
But following that massive explosion, the tone suddenly drops into an epic, quiet register to highlight the dust settling. All that frantic action, it's just gone. Instead, we get this sweeping, wide shot of a ruined landscape. The text simply tells us, nothing remains, only silence. Our hero is standing tall, his intricate cloak billowing in the wind, facing out toward the horizon rather than looking at the reader. The narration notes that this isn't just the beginning of a battle. This is the rise of a new legend. And finally, we get his ongoing internal vow. The Aether is mine to protect, and I will never fall. It's just a perfect decrescendo, grounding all the explosive magic we just witnessed into a deeply personal, permanent mission for our protagonist. And that brings us to the end of this incredibly dense, brilliantly structured page. We've seen firsthand how pacing, color contrast, and precise dialogue can turn a single piece of paper into an entire cinematic experience. But as the panel explicitly reminds us at the bottom, this is to be continued. The protagonist's vow is absolute, and yes, the Aether is protected for now, but given the sheer, overwhelming scale of Kakan's brief, terrifying appearance, we really have to ask ourselves, what other ancient ruins are out there? What deeply buried threat will inevitably rise from them next to test the will of Aether? I hope breaking down this single page has left you as thoroughly intrigued as I am by what this expansive lore is going to reveal next. Keep exploring, keep reading closely, and thanks for joining me for this explainer today.